Welcome to the first in a series of videos explaining and detailing how to create quizzes in Brightspaces for your exams in Block 3 and 4. This is the first in a series of videos where we will first have an introduction in this video and we'll continue on the different steps that may help you in setting up your quizzes. So this series of videos is designed with the current situation in mind, where we want to replace the exams we want to take in blocks 3 and 4 with quizzes in Brightspace. And we would like to stress that if possible, consider changing the type of exam to an individual assignment or another form that can be handed in and checked for plagiarism, as we do not have any proctoring tools available at the moment. And multiple choice questions in particular, if they can be avoided, please avoid them. Some extra things to consider is that our students will not be familiar with the procedure of the new exams in Brightspace, and it will be good to help students practice this by creating a mock exam quiz as well. This way they become familiar with the interface of Brightspace and also perhaps the advancing and the lack of ability to return to previous questions, which is one of the things might help prevent fraud. In regular exams, students can return to questions they have already done. If you select the option that this is not possible, students will have to practice and be informed about this. In addition, students typically have a formula sheet or other documents supplied during the exams. A quiz held in Brightspace has the option of preventing students access to different parts of Brightspace, like their PowerPoints or maybe even videos. Think of a way to provide students with access to the documents or formula sheets they might need during the exam. And finally, and this is an ongoing issue, is that we would like you to think about how you would like to do your exam reviews, as we cannot have students come in, and doing exam reviews online will pose the risk of exposing your entire database. As we do not have any form of online proctoring, students are also able to communicate and record anything that is presented on their screen. So please keep that in mind when setting up your exams. Now, there are some measures we can take to reduce fraud during a particular exam, and that is to rely on randomizing the questions that students see. This requires quite a few versions, multiple versions of questions, so that students don't get the same questions. If there are questions that have parameters, you can parameterize that question and that way provide multiple versions. And I'll show you an example of that in a minute. Please provide as many versions as you can for questions like short answer, multiple choice, or written response or essay questions. Separate videos for all these types of questions will be provided later. When creating multiple variants of questions, it is done to ensure that each student has an exam that is as dissimilar as possible to that of the ones other students are taking, but it does rely on providing many different versions of the question. One example of parameterization is a second order equation where we would like the student to provide the roots of 2x squared plus 3x minus 4 equals 0. We can create a whole set or whole family of similar questions if we take a, b, and c to be the parameters in this equation. You can create the values for a, b, and c randomly in Brightspace or on your own computer. Another example is a statistical problem where you are presented with a data set and asked to estimate certain parameters. And again, by varying the data set, we have a unique question for each student, and different versions of the same problem. To set up a quiz as a version of your exam, as a replacement for your exam, we recommend the following steps. As one is to create a question library in your course, and then to set up the quiz. After you have set up the quiz, and before that created your question library with all the questions, you can organize permissions and restrictions and determine how you're going to assess it. This is the introduction to a series of videos where in the next video I'll be talking about organizing your question library to correspond with the learning objectives and Bloom levels or topics or specific questions. Next, there will be videos about creating questions, multiple choice question, arithmetic questions which allow a numeric answer to be evaluated, and written response questions. Following that, there will be a video about creating a quiz in Brightspace, setting up the sections of the quiz, randomizing the questions, setting restrictions, and the grading. And finally, a video on bulk importing questions from a different type of repository.